And Senator from Illinois, Senator Mark Kirk, as well. I don't know if you're happy to be here this morning.
He's used the slippers reference himself.
That's right.
Are you wearing slippers right now?
No, got the shoes on,
All right,
but I like the
See,
Pericles
he's listening
reference.
to the president.
All right, so let's get serious here. Some very bad news this morning out of Afghanistan, right?
That's right. I just finished another reserve assignment in Afghanistan and learned that the Al-Qaeda is a shadow of its former shadow, still armed and dangerous, but we really hit them hard. The Taliban has had a horrible military year, but a new threat called the Haqqani network is the principal danger to Americans in uniform in the Afghan
Tell us about that. The New York Times reported on it this past weekend, and obviously this morning, more bad news out of Afghanistan.
The Haqqani network is fostered and protected by the government of Afghanistan that receives about $1 billion in U.S. assistance. It hit our embassy complex, ISAF headquarters, took out the guy leading the peace process in Afghanistan, and this morning may have been involved in the hit on CIA headquarters in Kabul.
But it's also protected by the government of Pakistan, right? And isn't that more significant in terms
Fostered,
of our...
trained, and paid for by the ISI in Pakistan, which is why I think in these difficult budget times, we need to reduce military assistance to Pakistan. And I'm very sort of proud of our government right now.
To start drawing back our support for Pakistan's military.
I understand that, and I think he's probably right, but the other side of the coin, of course, is Pakistan is where a lot of our enemies reside, and we, at least up till recently, thought we had some level of cooperation from them in finding them, and there are 170 million people there and potentially nuclear weapons. So it's you've got to be, I think, a little
It's a very fine balance.
You got to be ginger about how you approach this.
You do, and I think we have multiple interests there. Some of our supplies for our Army goes through there. They have a nuclear arsenal, but long term, we are leaving Afghanistan. And the question is, do we allow it to become terror incorporated again, laying the foundation for a second 9/11? And I say no. The bigger idea that I think the president should explore is the tilt to India. India would fund the Afghan government. India has a strong interest in an Afghanistan that is not a terror base. I wish that a peaceful Afghanistan could be created out of Pakistan, but it appears the Pakistani government has committed itself to terror.
So John Meacham, this is what the Pakistanis have done. I will be the first to say, and I said it after 9/11, we have not always been good friends with the Pakistanis. We have made deals with them for aircraft that we reneged upon. We basically gave them the stiff arm for 10, 15 years in favor of India. We tried to change that. After 9/11, we've given them billions of dollars, and I think at this point, after a decade, I think at this point it's time to go back to India and say, we tried. Go ahead.
We try. And one curiosity here, particularly after the death of Richard Holbrooke, is what is the nature of our personal diplomatic relations in both Pakistan and India? Right. What's your sense of who we can really talk to honestly?
I think there's a poetic and cultural alliance in the 21st century between the two largest democracies on earth, the United States and India. And in the relations broke down to such a degree that there was the Mullen-Kiani alliance, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff with their chief of staff. But that really collapsed after the bin Laden hit. And now that Mullen is accusing Kiani of directly supporting a terror group who kills Americans, I think the relations are hitting a low point. But for all the right reasons, the Pakistanis have committed themselves to terror. They back the organizations that did the Mumbai attack on India, and they're backing the organization that did, in all likelihood, the attack this morning in Afghanistan.
But how long do we stay in Afghanistan? We're spending $2 billion a week. You're talking about a long term. I mean, Americans are ready to come home.
Right. I think the president's plan is the responsible. You bring 10,000 troops out by Christmas. You bring another 23,000 out by the end of the Afghan fighting season, so they come out in October, November. And then you lay the groundwork for a substantially reduced presence by 2014, when the Afghan military reaches the size of about 350,000 troops, which is about the size you need to sustain a government that will not lose against the Taliban or Haqqanis.
Okay, we've got Chuck Todd with us right now. Let's bring Chuck in. Chuck, a brutal week for Rick Perry, whether you want to talk about the Florida straw poll or Saturday Night Live, or are the reviews coming in from conservatives across the country. This it's hard to remember a candidate whose fortunes have fallen so.
Romney, what you've just described is exactly happening. We go from Trump to Bachmann to Perry.
Right.
And this is really just a gauntlet that Romney is running through before picking up the national organization.
And does it reflect a lack of enthusiasm for Romney? That everybody's looking for something else. Everybody's
I think that's always the case. You know, remember that 4 years ago, McCain right now was at 8. Yeah. Because it was anybody but McCain, and then he made it.
Right.
Okay.
Michael Still.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah. Chime in.
I just a real quick question. I guess I want to ask the senator, but ask more broadly as well. So, given everything that Chuck has said and the senators just said, which is most poisonous to the base? Romney's position on health care or Perry's position on immigration? Because that's what this really boils down to. They both have something that really tees off the base. So, which one are they willing to swallow the quickest and deal with?
Let's go to Chuck Todd. Chuck, I would say Perry is still embracing his immigration stand. Mitt Romney has been working to move away from his health care stand. Is that one reason why it's not sticking to Romney as much?
Well, I think that if you would talk to Perry world, they would say Romney hasn't had to defend it yet. He really hasn't had to go through the campaign gauntlet of it. We haven't seen.
But he's in as many.
The 30-second ads.
That though.
We haven't seen.
He's in as many debates as Rick Perry.
No, and it hasn't happened. That's right.
As Britt, he would say, he's throwing up all over himself.
I know. No, but that's the point that they try to make, which is saying, hey, Romney hasn't had that moment yet. He hasn't had that moment where it's him under siege. He hasn't had that moment where everybody else on the stage decides, oh man, I'm going to pile on Mitt Romney now over health care. It hasn't happened yet. And so the Perry argument is this. I'm just telling you the Perry argument.
Right.
The Perry argument is this. Once we start seeing 30-second ads popping up in Iowa, popping up in New Hampshire, popping up in Florida, it's a different conversation Mitt Romney's going to have, and then we'll find out if he can withstand it and which is worse.
That's their argument. So, Chuck, let me ask you what your take is on Fox. On Sunday, Britt Hume, obviously an extraordinarily respected conservative within the conservative ranks at Fox News, saying that Rick Perry threw up all over himself. Bill Kristol saying that it may have been the worst performance that they could remember. Yeah. How does Rick Perry survive that? It's not like that's coming from MSNBC.
No, and that's what he's got to fix. And I was talking to some Perry folks. I'm like, how do you fix this? And they said, well, number one is they don't know him, and over time, when they get to know him, maybe they'll warm up to him a little bit. But they know they have to simply perform better in the next round of debates. There are 2, at least, that looks like on the schedule for October, and he has got to, in Britt Hume's words, not throw up all over himself.
That is a very low bar, by the way.
And then you're gonna, and this is the dangerous part for Mitt Romney. Okay, we were in this space with Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, where everybody's like, boy, Obama didn't ever bring anything to these debates. It's Hillary Clinton stands there, takes all the heat from John Edwards, from Chris Dodd, from Bill Richardson. And he just sort of sits there, and then all of a sudden she just has one bad performance. That's the concern if you're Romney world, right? He only has to slip up once, and he's in trouble. I mean, the irony is, had what he did,
man.
Had he thrown up all over himself, he'd have been chased out of the race this week.
Machines don't throw up all over themselves.
We're using this term.
By the way, what a low bar, by the way.
It's true. You're right.
Hey, so the governor goes, so what do I need to do tonight? Governor, don't throw up all over yourself.
Just don't throw up all over yourself.
This is breakfast conversation, right?
Exactly.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
So, Senator, is there a better way to characterize Perry's debate performance besides throwing up all over himself? Or is that really what he did?
I think he hurt himself tremendously. This is the A game, and he didn't bring his A game here. And this is not a marathon. This is the Ironman of politics.
Yeah.
And steady performance is rewarded, especially in the Republican primaries.
Does he have an A game?
Well, and that's the question. We didn't see it so far.
So let me ask you, speaking of A games,
honest.
are the Cubs going to be back next year?
You know,
what's going on? I mean, Detroit is whipping up on Chicago in football,
I will just say
baseball.
every professional team can have a bad century.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Senator Mark Kirk,
That is
thank you.
fair.
Chuck Todd.